Hi, I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And we get a lot of requests on hydrangeas and roses this time of year, and they're wondering what they should do with them. When do I prune them? Do I not prune them? Am I going to get flowers? Am I going to hurt it? So here's a couple answers for you. Now, when it comes to hydrangeas and roses, right now, middle of October, we do nothing. You can cut off some old flowers if you want, but even those we should sort of leave, because what's happening now, leaves are starting to change. We may have gotten some light frosts, but long and short, it's not quite late enough in the season to trim. If we were to trim now, as opposed to say beginning of November, middle of November, we may accidentally push new growth. So for now, leave it be. But I'm telling you this so you can get out there and you know what to do when it's time. So we have two types of hydrangeas here. You can see this old flower is a pointy type, okay? So at the end of the season, middle of November, what we can do is we can go through and we can trim this for shape. It doesn't matter when you trim this type that has sort of a pointy flower, kind of like a cone, because it blooms on new wood, therefore it's not going to care when you trim it. So we're going to trim it back to a shape we like. Doesn't matter roughly how high, though we should really not do any more than a third of this year's growth. So a third overall. If there's some crossing, rubbing branches, go ahead and trim. Now, this is the type over here that always confuses folks. This is the one that blooms only on the old wood, and therefore if we cut it back, we have potentially no flowers next year. So this one, the only thing we're going to do is get rid of a couple little dead flowers and we're going to leave it alone. That is it. So this has already been trimmed. It has a nice overall shape. These sticks that are going to be here when all these leaves fall off, these are going to be old wood next year. So therefore, this is what bears the flowers, the first set of flowers for next year. So we're going to leave it alone till next year when you see new growth, okay? And then my other thing we hear a lot about are roses. What do we do with roses? Well, first of all, get good nippers, and that's what I've been using. These are really easy, small, handy to have in your pocket. I recommend gloves. These are leather gloves. The thorns don't get through them, so you can put those on, get going. Now, with roses, what you're going to do is just lightly trim off any conflicting branches. You can thin out, air it out a little bit, cut down in here so you have nicer branching pattern, outward facing. For next season, we're going to pick off and get rid of leaves, especially that might have some spots and blots on it. We're going to remove any of these spores that'll want to overwinter. But aside from that, I recommend you leave her alone till spring. And what you're going to do is you're going to wait till you see what starts to regrow and then trim it back. Here's an example in this rose. Here's last year's old growth. We never got in here, but next spring we could actually just take that off and get that out of there for that rose. You're done. Okay, so those have been some smart gardening tips for things that you can do upcoming to take care of your roses and your hydrangeas for spring.